I'm Liza, creative director and partner at Studio Dunbar. I also manage the studio with a colleague of mine, Wouter. I'm a motion fanatic, but I think you'll see that a little bit later on. I'm a sound student, so I'm trying to deep dive in different genres of music. So if you have a fantastic, more on the techno side, Vietnam music, please share it with me because I'm only listening to hardcore techno and I need to get out of it. No, quite seriously, you'll hear that later on. And I'm also co-initiator and host of Type Radio. And this is a project that I started in 2004, and last year, in 2024, we said, let's end it, but then we said no, so we started again, and it's a podcast station on type and design.
Wow.
And these are all the people we interviewed in the last 20 years from all over the world, and just to ask them not about type, but everything else around their lives. If they're religious, if they steal, if they lie, everything else that you want to really know about people and not really just the type and the design. And one of the most beautiful moments was this, when we went to visit Adrian Frutiger when he was in an old people's home, and it was not too long after that he passed away. And that was really important to share these stories of many people around the world. And last but not least, I'm an obsessive book collector. I will collect anything. If you don't want your book, I will take it for you. I can keep it at my home. And I love every Sunday to register the books I have. I film them. Sounds kind of kinky, right? I film them. But it's because it helps me to it really helps me to look at the work itself, because in the end, when it comes to the design, it's holding on to design. All our work, or at least the work that I do in the studio, it's very much digital, and it's the one thing that you can really hold onto. Anyway, enough of that part. A bit about the studio. This is a studio founded by Gert Dunbar. Almost 50 years ago. He graduated from design. You never ever retire from design. I mean, you can never stop, I think, with what we're doing. We're 36 people, and our main focus is identity, motion, and sound. This is the team, and we had an amazing photographer, because as you can see, it's not the reality. No, but really, and there is also my fantastical colleague here, Jing. So everything I say, you can ask her. I don't know where Jing is. She's probably in the... Jing? Oh, the one time she's quiet. Anyway. Thanks, Jing. Anyway, she's here. You can ask her all the questions to see if this is true. With the team, we have also 3 sound producers. So we are working simultaneously with visual and motion. And I made a deal with a guy at the top left-hand corner, and that for every person that follows him in this room, he's going to buy me a book. So, anyway, let's see. Let's make him bankrupt. No, I'm joking. He's a colleague. He's a good guy. Okay, so I saw a lot of people in the last year making show reels, and then we said, oh, we want to make a show reel too. So I'm gonna play it, but warn you, I'm into hardcore techno, so please if you hate the music, please, it's quite loud, put your hands over your ears. If you hate the work, also close your eyes. It's gonna be over soon. So here goes. So obviously you saw nothing. So let's try this again. I guess the work, if you describe the work of the studio, it's loud. This is for MSI, League of Legends. I don't know if there's people here that play for 2024. It's also systematic. Yeah, believe it or not, we can think in systems. And this is the ongoing work for the last 2 years that we're collaborating, creating both the motion and sound system for OpenAI. And there is also order. A lot of order. Project highlight from the 90s when the studio designed the identity for Dutch police. And these were the cars that the police people had, which is unbelievable, but now they don't have these cars. But they still have the stripes, so, anyway. And the work is quite chaotic.
Chaos.
This is for Entropy, blockchain company in the US.
Wow.
And rhythmic. I think partly when you're working with motion, that rhythm is very important in how you approach it. So we've been working now 2-3 years with Utah Jazz to develop also their identity both in sound. Wow, fuck, I'm gonna get back at you with that sound. Here you go, can you put this louder? Haha, Zootopia. Anyway, let's go on. Still got it. Anyway. What we see also in the last few years, and I mean what we know forever, creativity is constant. That is not going to change. We have that in us, in all of us, but the tools are changing rapidly. So how we're creating is what has been now for the last few years since the beginning of our profession, and for us to learn new ways and new ways of working, what we did was start a lab in the studio where we take the freedom to explore, to learn different techniques and different tools. So in this lab, or it's not really a lab, I mean, we're not wearing white coats, it's just sitting there in an office on a Thursday afternoon, and where we teach each other different ways of doing. So I can show you a few of these experiments. For example, really learning 3D.
Wow.
This is by Alvin, motion designer. Or understanding, for example, stained glass or creating it synthetically. And looking at how typography reacts to sound. Or using unconventional tools to create motion. I think that's a misconception that with motion means you need to learn very complicated, tools to create it, to make it. But we give workshops about using other tools, and this is by Monica Losada. And she did a workshop with us, and she made this in Excel. So you can make motion with anything that you have. But of course, you don't only, we don't only use sometimes make them ourselves. And then we don't take ourselves very seriously. For example, you can take this tool and you can learn to move body parts, other body parts, I mean, those body parts. Okay, moving on. Wow. So, first project, I have three projects, don't worry, you'll be out of here soon. The first one is for North Sea Jazz Festival. And North Sea Jazz Festival is one of the largest indoor festivals, I think, in Europe and at least in the Netherlands. And I'm not too sure if any of you are into jazz. I am not, but I do recognize the names that have been through there. It's just some of the most incredible names have performed, and we were lucky enough. And we are also in Rotterdam, that's where it takes place. We were lucky enough to rebrand or refresh their identity. But along with, if you think about jazz, I think jazz is the most designed, most designed. For example, these are our covers from Blue Note, and they're the most incredible, beautiful, beautiful covers. And when we saw that, and we thought, oh, and this is not the only thing, there's a huge, huge history. So our biggest question was, how do you design when everything has been done before? And I don't know, I mean, I'm always excited to go to conferences and, you know, look at everything and museums. But I also panic, like, oh my God, how do you come up with a new idea? And how does that happen? And for us, I think with every project, like we panic continuously, but then we breathe. Obviously, I'm panicking at the moment, but and then we breathe. But then thinking about it and thinking actually about music, every note, the notes are existing. We're not inventing notes, but how they're structured and the rhythm and the tone is what creates newness. The same thing goes for design. I mean, the circle is the circle. We're not reinventing the circle, but how we make compositions, and I think that's everybody has a unique way of making, and that's the way you create newness. So I think that is, if you think about that, then it also gives you a very, maybe a slight relief to continue and not get overwhelmed. So when it came to North Sea Jazz, we went back, we looked at what is jazz, and for us these four words were the most important, and especially improvisation, because improvisation in jazz is not like, oh, come in, and do whatever you want. Improvisation in jazz, at least, means that you know your part, and you know it very well, and when you come together, you play together, and that creates the piece. So in a way, you're creating certain parameters to play, and that's, I think, what we do with design. So with North Sea Jazz, we started with the line. We didn't invent the line, obviously, and we took that line for a walk. We did. It did. And it moved from one side of the screen to the other. And it was there to create words. And it created new words. And interacted with images. And then back to static. So you still have that movement within the printed work. Motion doesn't necessarily have to stop when it's printed. And of course, all the out-of-home screens that we had at Rotterdam. But we like to say, what is jazz without sound? So, staying close to home, Rotterdam that is, we're gonna move on to football. And I know that here you're like in Vietnam, the biggest fans of football. This is true, correct? I read this. Good. At least one person is. So you sit with me here and you understand. But in Rotterdam, we have this team, Feyenoord, and we absolutely love this team. There are fanatics in the team, and it's really, it doesn't matter, win, lose, we are behind them. And everybody I think in Rotterdam has tattooed the logo
Wow.
on their body. Like, and yeah, here I just kept it decent, but it's in a lot of places. So, I mean, if you know football, you understand this. So they came to us, they said, refresh the brand. So we started with their logo, which is this wonderful thing. And of course, if this is tattooed on people's bodies, you're not exactly going to change that, but maybe you take the best of it to make the design. So we started with the letter F that belonged to Feyenoord. And just to understand a little bit, Rotterdam is a port city. It's a no-nonsense city. It's really like hard-working, and the team has that attitude. So we thought, okay, we'll start with the F and the typography, but that doesn't have the attitude that we were looking for. So we commissioned Jacob Wise, who had designed the Scrappa that had that attitude. And we said, okay, take your typeface, take the Feyenoord typeface, and then just put the two together. And you know when they say, like, you can't take concept A and then concept B and you put them together? You know, that's a big no, because you create a monster. Well, it's not true, because how do you make children? I've thought about this. I have thought about this. So, we put the two together, whatever works, people. And there is the child, like it or not. And this was the typeface. So you see here the full set. Actually, there was also the numbers developed. A very, I would say, very straightforward identity. There's not a huge story. They're red, they're white, and there's a typography that carries the identity. So if you come to Rotterdam, you'll probably see this around. There were socials for them, of course the bus, the scarves, and there was a butt. There's a lot of butt, you know, projects where you think they're going well and then they're not. There's where the butt comes. So there was this. It wasn't, I know it was tattooed everywhere, and then we thought, yeah, do we leave it as is? Do we feel that this is like really the optimum that they could reach? So the big question is, does everything need to be redesigned? You know, we're always busy, you know, redesign this, redesign that, you know, of course we need work, so of course we tell people it needs to be redesigned. It makes sense, but you need to think carefully, because these are the people that support the team.
Yep.
This is serious. These are the people that support the team. And, you know, this is on Sunday. So, we have a studio, and we want to keep the studio. But, this is the logo. And so, looking at it carefully, I was like, how can we make the minimum change so that we don't get killed? Because this is important, huh? First, why? You see that? Why didn't they, you know, small thing, why didn't they line that thing up? You know, it's just a little, you want that over. The next is, why is that F not in the center, right? No idea. Not that it really matters. I mean, I think this is a designer thing. Then the color was a bit shitty. Then the spacing. I thought the spacing was for the Netherlands because they had this big spacing there so that the water could go through because there's a lot of rain. So I thought, yeah, maybe this is a cultural thing. But, and then, there, of course, that dividing line, in case you didn't see it, was red and white. So if we put all this together, yeah, there's only one answer, right? Fix it, fix it. And plus, everybody who had a tattoo already fixed the logo, so no problem. So now you're gonna see the most incredible, incredible change. Keep your eyes open, like don't blink. I'm gonna click. Now, did you see it? No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Okay, so wait, that's the old one. Fuck. So the one before, after. Okay, safe, safe. Nobody's gonna die. Nobody's gonna notice. The tattoos are okay. Big mistake. No, you know, like this is like I don't know what's going on. No, seriously, big mistake. So from one love, it ended up being one hate. And it wasn't from the team, from the Feyenoord team. The fans didn't care, they were happy. I mean, the tattoos were still there. But everybody else thought that was the worst thing that we had ever done because the change was not big enough. So one thing after the other, you know, the tight joke. This one, classic. This one's a bigger, I can see the difference here. That one. This one was great. And the other one, that one, of course, haha, this always comes up, whatever you do. You know, then, you know, Mad Men came out. The cats are classic. And my favorite one is this one. Trust me, I'm really skinny from here. Don't come closer. So, I guess whatever works. Okay, last project. We're done soon, don't worry, you're out of here. And it's my favorite project. Everybody has a favorite project, like a favorite child. I don't know if you can say that. I have one child for that reason. And this is my favorite project. So I'll tell you a little bit about its history. It's a project that started, I'm gonna get you with the music. Wait, is this like the scary scene where they're killing the animals or just, anyway. So, demo, Design in Motion Festival. It's initiated in the studio, and with every project, there's a birth. And this was in 2019 in the Netherlands, and actually also, and everywhere in the world. We have a lot of screens, and when they're not showing these amazing ads, they have these screensavers. What you see here, which this weather. I don't know, they tell us the weather, like we couldn't tell what the weather was when we were outside, but anyway, really handy. And we were commissioned to come up with an alternative for these screensavers. And we came up with this. There were city signs that went around. Every station that had a screen, we made this city sign. But when we saw this, it had such an impact, thinking like, wow, we can use these screens in an alternative way. And that's so brilliant. I've taken photographs of all the numbers on the screens that say, you can use this space here. I'm gonna call them up. We're gonna do this here one day. And we thought, hey, we can use these in an alternative way, and why not actually initiate the world's largest motion design festival in the world, and then show work from designers around the world. So we had that good relationship, and we thought, okay, why just share it for ourselves? Why not share it with everybody else that we know or don't know out there? And I think that's something that we should always remember. I think, especially if they're with new tools that are coming out, I think design lives on when we share the work, or we share experiences, and we all get together on events like that. And that's the only way I think our design can also progress, and if you can share opportunities with other people. So what we did was design demo. It moved, everything moved, and we organized it here at Amsterdam Central Station. And in 2019, we took over 80 screens for 24 hours. And there is a very special person here, which is Koos. And with Koos, we started this idea together. I know, I heard you say, oh no, don't worry, I'm not gonna make you stand up. You're that loud. And Koos was one of the initiators and also one of the curators. And that year, and he's been a curator all throughout, and that year we received 2,700 submissions from 900 designers from 70 countries all over the world. And I have to say that Koos always keeps up the quality, and I'm like bringing down the quality. You're like, no, 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 why do you let that in? But it's my friend. So now you know how you got in. No. Anyway, so just to show you what that day looked like, the highlights, the whole station transformed with the most beautiful, beautiful work from around the world, and everybody stopped to look at the screens, except for that guy. And those people, but you know, they're hungry, or the toilets were there or something like that. No, but seriously, just to see what that day looked like, everybody just stopped, they photographed, the community was coming together. So that was really a big get together where people were meeting, and it was such an incredible, incredible day. So we thought, okay, let's organize it one more time. And that happened in 2022, and I call that the teenager years of demo, because I think once you get into the teenager years, you go into this phase, which is do first, think later, regret never. And actually this probably lasts for the rest of your life, because 2022 we thought, yeah, if we can do this in a station, we can also do it in a country. Let's take over 5,000 screens. Like,